The alien jungle was quiet. Too quiet. Reed Carter, a young human biologist, stepped carefully over thick roots and glowing blue plants. His boots made soft prints in the strange red soil. All around him, large flowers opened and closed slowly, like they were breathing. He checked his scanner. No signs of animals, no danger, but still the air felt different. Then the ground shook. Not much, just a small tremor, but enough to make birds fly out of the trees. Reed turned quickly and walked toward the sound. His scanner beeped louder. Something unusual was ahead. Through the thick vines and trees, he found a deep hole in the ground, a crater. It looked fresh, like something had crashed here recently. The edges of the crater still smoked. Reed climbed down carefully, his heart beating fast. He wasn't supposed to go far from base camp, but this was worth it. In the center of the crater was something glowing, a small, round object, smooth, shining, like a pearl under moonlight, an egg. Reed knelt beside it. It was warm, almost alive. Light inside the shell moved like soft waves. It didn't look like any egg he had seen before, not from Earth, not from alien databases. As he touched it, a soft hum filled the air. His fingers tingled. Biological energy signature detected. His scanner said. Reed paused. Something deep, inside him, whispered, "Take it." He wrapped the egg in a heat blanket and placed it gently into his backpack. "Let's get you out of here," he whispered. But in the treetops above, someone was watching. Reed returned to his small outpost, a round shelter with basic tools, scanners, and a mini-lab. He placed the egg under a warm lamp. His AI assistant, LUX, scanned it again. "Unknown species," LUX said. "No threat detected. High cellular activity. Hatching expected in 72 hours. Reed smiled. "We'll call you." Knox. That night, Reed couldn't sleep. He kept looking at the egg, glowing softly like a baby star. He felt something strange, a connection. Back in the jungle, a young alien stood silently in the trees. She wore a long, dark cloak, her skin marked with tribal paint. Her silver eyes locked on the spot where the crater had been. She was Princess Siva of the hidden Nerav tribe, and she knew what had been taken. "The egg of the cursed one," she whispered. By the next morning, the egg cracked. Reed rushed to the lab as soft pieces of shell broke away. A small creature, no bigger than a cat, emerged slowly. Its body was smooth and black like glass. Its eyes were huge and deep red. It blinked once, then looked directly at Reed. Reed smiled. "Hey there, Knox." The creature tilted its head and let out a tiny chirp. It stumbled forward and pressed its head against Reed's hand. Lux scanned again. Heartbeat strong, body temperature rising, no signs of aggression. Reed laughed. "You're just a little guy, huh?" He fed Knox some protein gel and built a soft nest in the corner. The creature moved quickly, learning Reed's movements. It copied him, blinking, turning its head, even stretching its small claws when Reed raised his hands. It wasn't just smart, it was watching everything. Days passed. Knox grew fast. Too fast. In just 3 days, he became twice the size he was before. His teeth came in sharp. His claws left scratches on the walls. But he never attacked. He always listened to Reed. The bond between them was strong. Reed was proud, but he didn't know. In the jungle, Siva returned to her people. "The human has taken the egg," the elder gasped. "Then the time has come." Siva nodded. "The beast will grow, and the man who raised it will control its wrath." Back in the lab, one night Reed heard a strange noise, a deep growl. He turned and saw Knox staring at the jungle through the glass wall. His eyes were glowing. "Knox?" Reed stepped closer. The creature's body was tense, muscles hard, claws extended. Then he looked back at Reed and growled again. Softer this time, not at him, for him, warning him. Something was out there. Rain fell hard over the jungle. Reed ran through the muddy ground, his boots slipping with each step. Behind him, trees snapped. Something big was chasing him, not Nox, something else. He turned his head and saw it, a creature twice his height with yellow fangs and eyes like fire. It roared, shaking the trees. Reed tripped. The beast lunged, and then something black and fast slammed into it from the side. The larger beast tumbled into a tree, howling in pain. Reed blinked, gasping for air. Standing in front of him, back arched, claws raised, was Nox. No longer small, no longer soft. The little creature he had raised had become a silent killer. Nox let out a low, vibrating growl. His body had changed. His back had armored plates, and his eyes now glowed brighter than ever. The monster charged again. Nox didn't move until the last second, then leapt, twisting midair, landing on the beast's back and biting into its neck. It was brutal, fast, and precise. Reed had never seen anything like it. Minutes later, the beast lay still, dead. Nox stepped away, blood dripping from his jaw. He walked to Reed, sat down and nuzzled his arm gently. Reed whispered, "What are you?" Back at the tribe's mountain, Princess Siva watched the entire fight through a silent orb, an ancient crystal that could see through energy trails. She had followed Reed's scent, watched his decisions, observed the creature's growth. The elders had spoken in fear. The beast is returning to its original form, the one from the old stories, the destroyer. But Siva had seen something different in Reed's eyes. He didn't raise Nox with chains or commands. He raised him with care. She spoke softly to the air. "This man teaches a predator how to love." That night, Reed cleaned Nox's wounds. They weren't serious, but he could see something deeper, something brewing in Nox's body, muscles twitching, breath heavy, skin hardening. "Your DNA is changing again," Reed told him. "You're becoming something else, something powerful." Lux confirmed. Biological mutation, combat memory embedded in nerve clusters. This creature learns from every fight. Reed looked at Nox. "You're becoming a weapon." But Nox looked back at him with soft eyes and rested his head on Reed's lap. No, he was becoming a guardian. In the shadows of the jungle, other creatures moved, quietly, carefully. Siva had sent scouts, but not to kill, to learn. 3 days later, Reed was summoned by a local patrol team. A nearby village had sent a distress call. Another large beast was attacking. The tribes were afraid to send soldiers, and the people remembered the last time a monster entered their lands. Reed didn't wait. He took Nox and followed the signal. When they arrived, the scene was chaos. Small huts crushed, fires burning, people screaming. Reed shouted, "Stay back!" and released Nox. For the first time, people watched in awe, not fear. Nox faced the wild beast, a horned creature with massive arms, and did something no one expected. He roared, not to attack, but to warn. When the beast didn't back off, Nox moved fast, dancing around its legs, dodging attacks. He didn't kill quickly this time. He protected. He controlled his power, and when the fight was over, he returned to Reed and sat calmly beside him. In the trees above, Siva whispered, "He listens. He chooses. He protects." Her heart beat faster. Later, that night, as Reed treated injuries in the village, a soft voice spoke from behind him. "You control the beast." Reed turned fast. It was her, Princess Siva, cloaked in shadows. Eyes sharp but curious, he stood. "I don't control him. I raised him. There's a difference." She stepped closer, face serious. "You do not know what creature you hold. The elders say you bring danger." "And you?" he asked. She paused. "I think you bring change." Just before she disappeared back into the trees, she said one last thing. "When the time comes, the tribe will test your bond. If you pass, you may keep him. If not..." She didn't finish, but the look in her eyes told him everything. The real test was coming. Something was out there. She didn't blink. She didn't breathe. She didn't even move when the branch cracked beneath her feet. Princess Siva had watched the human for 3 nights straight, hiding in the trees like a shadow. Below her, Reed sat by the campfire, quietly, repairing Nox's armor vest. Nox rested nearby, eyes closed, tail slowly swaying. The fire reflected in his dark scales, making him look like a beast from a forgotten war. But Siva saw something else. Not a monster, not a mistake. She saw a boy's pet that had grown into a king's nightmare. Reed didn't know she was there, but Nox did. His eyes opened. He didn't growl. Didn't attack. He just looked up at her as if to say, "I know you're there, but I trust you." And for the first time, Siva's heart beat faster, not from fear, but from confusion. She returned to the cliffs at dawn. The elders waited, their backs straight, faces cold. "The human grows too bold," one said. "His creature becomes more dangerous by the day," another added. But Siva raised a hand. "No," she said. "He doesn't control it. He calms it. He speaks to it with kindness. The bond is not forced. It is chosen." The elders were silent. Then one spoke. "Then let the old law judge him. Let the trial of shadows begin." Later that day, Reed noticed strange marks on the trees around his camp. Deep cuts, tribal signs, warnings. He walked in a wide circle and found 7 sharp wooden arrows planted in the ground, each marked with glowing paint. He knew enough now to understand. A test was coming. He looked at Nox. The creature stood still, sniffing the air, growling low. "It's them," Reed said. "They're watching." That night, Reed lit 2 torches and placed them at the edge of the jungle, a peaceful sign. He sat down in the open and waited. The fire crackled. Nox stood guard beside him. And then she came. Princess Siva stepped out of the dark, bow in hand, her face serious but calm. "You knew I'd come?" she asked. Reed nodded. "Nox told me." She looked at Nox, who stared at her without blinking. Then slowly, he sat down. No growl. No threat, respect. Siva sat on the other side of the fire. Her voice was low, careful. "Do you know what he is?" "No," Reed said honestly. "But I know who he is. He's the one who saved my life. Twice." Siva leaned forward. "He is part of a forgotten predator species. Long ago, one destroyed our ancestors' villages. My people hunted them until only eggs remained. Your Nox is one of them." Reed stayed quiet. Siva continued. "But unlike the old stories, this one doesn't kill without reason. He waits. He learns. He follows. You." She pulled out a small crystal from her pouch and placed it between them. "Tomorrow the trial of shadows begins. It is not a fight. It is a judgment." "By who?" "By him," she said, pointing to Nox. Reed blinked. "What do you mean? If Nox obeys you during the trial, it means the bond is pure. But if he loses control, if he attacks, if he turns wild, the tribe will strike without mercy." Reed looked at Nox again. The creature tilted his head. "I trust him," Reed said, "and I think he trusts me." Siva stood. "Then you have one night to prepare, because when the trial ends, your fate will not be decided by words." That night, as Reed laid beside Nox under the stars, he spoke softly. "You're not just muscle and teeth, buddy. You're more than that. You've got a heart, a soul. You feel things. You protect people. You chose me." Nox growled gently in reply, his eyes glowing like warm embers. "I won't let them take you away, no matter what." Far above, on the cliffs, Siva stood in silence again, watching. And this time, she was afraid of the day to come. Not for herself, but for the bond she hoped would survive. Something was out there. The jungle was silent, too silent. Even the birds refused to sing. The air felt heavy, like it was waiting for something. Reed stood at the edge of the sacred arena. It wasn't made of metal or technology, but of stone, fire, and ancient spirit. Above him, the cliffs were packed with warriors from the Narav tribe. Painted faces, bowstrings ready, spears sharpened, every single one of them watching him. Not with respect, but with suspicion. In the center of the arena stood a tall wooden totem. It was carved with the face of a roaring beast. The same shape as Nox Siva entered from the other side wearing her royal armor, a robe of green, black, and gold threads passed down from generations. Her long staff glowed with soft blue energy. She looked fierce, powerful, and conflicted. She didn't look at Reed, not yet. Then the trial began. The tribal elder raised his hand and shouted, "Let the bond be judged." Suddenly the gates opened, and a massive beast was released, twice Nox's size, blind in one eye, chained with laser cuffs. A captured jungle terror known as Rivrak. It charged with a roar. Reed turned. Nox stood calm, eyes locked on the threat. But then he looked at Siva, and he knelt. Gasps echoed across the cliffs. The predator had bowed, not to his human, but to the princess. Reed was stunned. Why did he? Siva stepped forward, shocked. Her voice was barely a whisper. He chose me too? But there was no time to think. Rivrak broke free of its chain and ran toward the human. Reed shouted, "Nox, go!" Nox didn't wait. He leapt into the air like a shadow with wings, crashing into the beast mid-charge. The ground shook. Dust rose. The crowd leaned forward. The battle was violent, but not wild. Nox moved with grace. He dodged, blocked, countered. He didn't attack to kill. He attacked to control. Rivrak slammed him into the wall. Nox fell. But when he rose, he roared, not like a monster, but like a king reclaiming his land. Reed's hands were shaking. "Come on, buddy." Suddenly, Rivrak lunged toward Siva. A test. A trap. One elder whispered, "Let's see where his heart truly lies." But Nox moved faster than sound. He sprinted across the field, body glowing, claws extended, not to kill, but to shield. He threw himself between Siva and the beast, and for the second time, he knelt. This time it was clear. He chose both. He wasn't a weapon. He was a guardian. The trial was over. The tribal drums fell silent. The elder stood stunned. The beast obeyed, but not by force, not by control, by choice, by bond. He turned to Siva. "You've been chosen." He turned to Reed. "So have you." Then he raised his arms to the tribe and shouted, "Let it be known, the bond between beast, human, and bloodline has been proven. A new path is born today." The warriors began to chant. Some cheered, others stood quiet, still unsure. But none dared attack now. Later in the temple gardens, Reed sat by a tree, breathing slowly. Siva walked to him, her steps soft now, without armor. She sat beside him, quiet. "I never thought I'd say this," she said, "but thank you." "For what?" Reed asked. "For showing me that even the most dangerous heart can learn peace." They both looked at Nox, who lay in the grass, nearby, calmly licking a scratch on his arm. "I didn't tame him," Reed said. "I just gave him love." Siva smiled. "Sometimes that's the strongest weapon of all." But high above, far from the village, in the cold cliffs of the north, something ancient stirred. Another egg cracked open, and a deep rattling voice whispered, "One predator has risen. Now, the balance must be broken." The flames danced like spirits, 7 fires, 7 circles, 7 tribes. All eyes were on the sacred stone platform where the human stood, alone. The trial of shadows had passed, but now came something older, something more dangerous. The ritual of fire and blood, and this time, even Nox couldn't help him. Reed stood barefoot on the stone. The heat from the fire made sweat drip down his back. Around him, warriors of the Narav tribe stood in silence, their faces painted with ash and gold. Across from him stood Princess Siva holding a curved blade. She looked at him, Not with fear, not with anger, but with a question in her eyes. "Will you bind your life to mine?" In the tribe's oldest traditions, no one was allowed to command a sacred beast unless they shared blood with the royal line. The bond had to be sealed through pain, sacrifice, and trust. That's what this was now. A blood pact. One drop from the human. One drop from the princess. One cut. One chant. One choice. If either stepped back, the bond would break. If either hesitated, the tribe would take Nox away forever. Siva raised the blade to her palm. "If you do this," she said quietly, "you're one of us." Reed looked around. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about belonging. He held out his hand. "Then I'm ready." The blade cut across both palms. Their blood dripped into a carved stone bowl. Smoke rose instantly. Blue, then red, then gold. The elders began to chant. The fire grew brighter, and Nox howled, not in pain but in perfect harmony. The moment the chant ended, a bright symbol appeared on both Reed's and Siva's hands. The mark of union. The crowd roared. Siva looked at Reed with something new in her eyes. Not duty, not doubt, but respect. That night, as the fires burned low and the tribe feasted, Reed and Siva sat alone near a quiet spring. Nox rested beside them, tail slowly tapping the ground like a drumbeat. "You didn't have to do this," Siva said. Reed smiled. "I know, but I wanted to." "Why?" He looked at her. "Because I'm tired of being just a visitor. I want to build something. Not just raise a creature, but protect a home." Siva paused, then whispered, "Then maybe this is your home now." But far from the light, in a forgotten cave in the northern cliffs, a second egg hatched. This creature was not like Nox. It was sharper, thinner, born with hate already in its eyes. It didn't chirp, it screamed. And from the shadows, a robed figure smiled. "The false bond lives, but we shall burn it all." The next morning, the jungle shook. Scouts returned bloodied. A nearby village burned to the ground. No signs of survivors. Only one symbol left behind, scorched into the dirt. The mark of the broken star. Siva froze when she saw it. "That mark hasn't been seen in 100 years. "What is it?" Reed asked. She looked up. "It means war is coming." At once the council gathered. Weapons were brought from deep caves. Old battle armor was unsealed. Shields made of bones and scales were pulled from temple walls. This time, it wasn't just a beast to fight. It was a cult. One that believed hybrid bonds were a curse, that the old ways had to return, that all tamed predators must be killed before they became kings. As the warriors prepared, Siva turned to Reed. "You and I may be different, but our blood now sings the same song." Reed nodded. "Then let's sing louder than their war drums." Nox growled, his claws glowing faintly. He had sensed something. A new enemy was coming, one that looked too familiar. The first scream came at dawn. It wasn't human. It wasn't even animal. It was something worse, something unnatural. Reed jolted awake, heart pounding. Nox, already alert, stood at the door, his body tense, growling low. Outside, smoke curled over the jungle. The smell of burning wood and flesh drifted in the wind. Something had arrived. Something stronger. Something wrong. Siva ran toward him, armed and ready. Her warriors behind her looked shaken. "They hit the eastern border," she said breathlessly. "No survivors." Reed's gut twisted. "What are we fighting?" She didn't answer right away. She didn't have to. The earth shook. The trees snapped, and through the black smoke, a shape appeared. It was the same size as Nox, same black. Armor skin, same sharp claws, but where Nox's eyes burned red with warmth and loyalty, this creature's eyes glowed cold blue, dead, empty, no kindness. No soul, just hate. Reed's breath caught. "It's like him." "No," Siva said grimly. It's his shadow. The creature roared, a sound that rattled bones. Nox stepped forward without hesitation, muscles flexing, teeth bared. This wasn't just another fight. This was personal. His mirror, his nightmare. Without waiting for a command, Nox charged. The two collided with a force that shook the ground. Claws clashed, teeth snapped, roars filled the air. Reed had never seen Nox struggle before. He was fast, smart, powerful, but this creature was faster, meaner. Every move Nox made, the shadow matched and countered harder. Blood sprayed across the ground. Nox stumbled back for the first time ever, chest heaving, his dark scales torn. The shadow creature didn't stop. It pressed forward, emotionless like a machine. Reed yelled, "Nox, pull back!" But Nox refused. He stood his ground, even as the shadow's claws raked across his side again and again. In the trees above, hidden figures in dark robes watched. The cult, the broken star. Their leader, a woman with silver hair and hollow eyes, whispered, "Break the bond. Break the future." She raised her hand, and the shadow creature moved even faster, like a puppet on strings. Siva drew her bow, aiming. "At the cultists, no," Reed said quickly. "They want us to interfere. If we attack, they'll say the bond was weak." Siva gritted her teeth but lowered her bow. This was Nox's fight. Nox's choice. Nox stumbled again, his breathing ragged. Reed could feel the bond between them straining, like a rope pulled too tight. If Nox gave in to rage, he would lose himself. He would become just like the thing he was fighting, and Reed knew. This wasn't about who was stronger. It was about who remembered who they were. Reed stepped forward, hands cupped around his mouth, shouting above the chaos, "Nox, remember who you are. You're not a weapon. You're not their monster. You are my friend." Nox faltered. The shadow slammed him into the ground. The cultists cheered. But then, Nox opened his eyes, not red with rage, but golden with hope. He moved differently. No, not attacking like a wild beast, defending, guarding. Every strike he made now had purpose. Every dodge, every roll, every roar echoed not violence, but protection. Slowly, he turned the tide. He used the shadow's speed against it. He tricked. It led it into broken routes and traps using the environment. Reed's heart pounded. "He's not just fighting with claws anymore," Siva whispered. "He's fighting with heart." Finally, Nox pinned the shadow creature to the ground. He roared but didn't kill. He looked back at Reed and Siva, waiting for their decision, their command. Reed stepped forward, voice steady. "Let it live." Nox growled low, then stepped back. The creature fled into the jungle, wounded and howling. The cultists vanished with it, melting into the trees like smoke. The battle was over. Nox limped toward Reed, blood dripping from his wounds. Reed knelt down, wrapping his arms around his friend. "My boy, not you did it." Siva knelt too, placing a hand on Nox's head. "You're not just a predator," she said softly. "You're a protector." But in the cold north, deep underground, the cult gathered again. Their leader hissed, "He spared it, fool. Now, we unleash the final storm." The war was not over. It had just begun. The sky turned black. The sun vanished behind thick clouds. And from the cliffs beyond the jungle, thousands of dark figures marched. Banners of the broken star flapped in the burning wind. The final war had come, and at the front of the village gates stood only 3 figures: a human, a princess, and a predator the galaxy had once feared. Now, the tribe's last hope. Reed tightened the armor plates across Nox's shoulders. His hands moved fast, heart hammering. Siva painted fresh war symbols on her arms. Not ancient tribal ones, but new ones. Ones that combined human stars and Nerav roots. They would not fight for the past today. They would fight for the future. Nox knelt silently before Reed and Siva. No leash. No chains. Only trust. Siva placed her hand on Nox's head and whispered the old blessing. Protector of breath, guardian of hope, child of two worlds. Nox lifted his head and roared, a deep thundering sound that shook the stones under their feet. The enemy arrived. The Broken Star cultists wore black bone armor. Behind them, monsters unleashed from corrupted eggs snarled and snapped, twisted copies of what Nox could have been. At the very center stood the cult leader, a pale woman with hollow silver eyes, clutching a twisted staff of dark energy. She pointed at Nox and screamed, "Destroy the impure bond, burn the future!" The battle exploded. Siva led the tribe warriors in waves, her bow striking with deadly precision. Arrows of energy lit the sky. Reed fought alongside them using human tech, plasma nets, sonic grenades to trap the cult beasts. But it wasn't enough. The cult had numbers, power, rage. For every monster they brought down, two more charged in, their thigh. Walls trembled, the ground cracked, and at the heart of it all, Nox fought like a legend reborn. Nox didn't just tear through enemies with brute strength. He protected the children. He shielded the wounded. He pushed back attacks from the broken monsters without falling into rage. He fought not as a weapon, but as a guardian. And when Nox faced the corrupted shadow creature, the one he had spared, he didn't roar. He didn't attack. He touched his forehead to the creatures in silence. The blue glow faded from its eyes. It fled into the jungle, leaving the cult leader screaming in rage. The tide shifted. The tribe warriors, inspired by Nox's mercy and strength, fought harder. The cultists began to fall back. Siva struck the cult leader with an arrow through her staff, shattering the dark energy. Reed launched a signal beacon, calling allied tribes and off-world human forces for help. The enemy was breaking. Finally, under the cracked moonlight, Nox stood atop the last hill, roaring to the stars. The war drums fell silent. The cult was defeated. The future was saved. Later, in the grand clearing where once fear ruled, the tribe gathered around a great bonfire. Nox sat proudly beside Reed and Siva, his armor shining, his wounds healing. The elders came forward, laying down their ancient crowns. One elder spoke. Today the past dies. Today fear burns away. Today we follow those who built bonds, not cages. He turned to Reed. He turned to Siva. He turned to Nox. Today, a predator became a protector. Today, we welcome a new tribe. Siva reached for Reed's hand. He squeezed it tightly. Nox leaned his great head against them both, rumbling softly. There were no more walls between them. No more fear. Only future. Final scene. At the edge of the village, a small egg sat under the twin suns, not in a cage, not in fear, but in an open nest, waiting. Hope, for a world where no bond was ever forced again.